In this video, I try to pack the most important things you need to know about writing letters in IELTS General Training Writing Task 1. You will learn what examiners value in Task 1 answers, see a full sample answer, and discover one area a lot of students in my experience struggle with, and learn how to master it. It's Asia. Let's get started. The idea behind the task 1 is to see how well you can communicate in English in different situations, and how well you can adapt your communication style to a particular situation at hand. And here lies one of the major difficulties. To show you what it is, we need a task. Here is one. Your next door neighbor likes to listen to music late at night. Because of the loud music, you often lose sleep. Write a letter to the building manager. In your letter, describe the situation. Explain the problems it's causing you. Offer at least one solution. Write at least 150 words. Remember that you'll be penalized if your answer is too short. Try to write around 170-190 words. A slightly longer answer is fine too, but it takes more time to write. So if you're aiming at a band 6, 7 or 7.5, it's better to keep it under 200 words. You do not need to write any addresses. Begin your letter as follows. Dear, the first question to ask is, who are you writing to? What we write and the ways we write things change according to who we are writing to. You may need a formal writing style when you're writing to a business or a newspaper or a person in their official capacity, like a building manager. Or an informal writing style when you're writing to a friend. Somewhere in between, we can talk about semi-formal style, which is less formal but not quite informal. For instance, letters to your colleague at work or your neighbor are semi-formal. In our case, we are writing to the building manager. So this is a formal situation, right? The second question is, what are you writing about? We always have 3 bullet points to cover. In this case, describe the situation, explain the problem, and offer, or shall we say, suggest a solution. Officially, these 2 elements, the what we must write and the who to, are called purpose and tone. To achieve a high band score, we really must handle both well, and a lot of students find it hard to do. If we have a look at the IELTS band descriptors that examiners use to assess your answers, I'll link it below. We see 4 criteria and requirements for each band score. So here is what it says. Band 8. All bullet points are clearly presented and appropriately illustrated or extended. So you need to extend your bullet points. Band 7. The letter presents a clear purpose. The tone is consistent and appropriate to the task. Band 6. The purpose is generally clear. There may be minor inconsistencies in tone. Band 5. All bullet points are presented, but one or more may not be adequately covered. The purpose may be unclear at times. The tone may be variable and sometimes inappropriate. If the purpose of your letter is unclear, or if the tone is inappropriate, let's say formal instead of informal or vice versa, that's a band 5. Clearly, the purpose and tone are very important. But I know that when you're learning English, you may not feel if something is formal or informal. I'll tell you what we can do. Let's go back to our sample task, writing to the building manager about that noisy neighbor. And I'm going to give you some choices, alternative extracts from the different parts of the letter. And you choose which alternatives are more appropriate to fit the purpose and tone of our answer. So, any letter needs a way to greet whoever we're writing to and get to the point as soon as possible. In other words, say why you're writing your letter straight away. So, how do you feel about these two alternatives to start off? A. Dear Mr. Jackson, how's it going? I just thought I'd write a few words about that young guy who moved in next door to me a few weeks back. Well, he plays his horrible rock music until 2 or 3 a.m. and I can't stand that. Now, extract B. Dear Mr. Jackson, I hope you're well. As the owner of flat 24, I am writing to you to complain about the behavior of the tenant of flat 25, my immediate next door neighbor. Since he moved in last month, my nights have been disturbed by the incessant loud music coming from his flat from around 10 p.m. until the early hours of the following morning. Which of the two has the correct tone? Which has the more formal vocabulary and grammar? It's B. Let's discuss why. Have a look at what elements give this formal or informal tone so you know how to control them. Option A, how's it going? Option B, I hope you're well. These are two common phrases to open your letters. One is informal, the second is formal. I hope you're well is extremely common in English. I just thought I'd write a few words. Again, this is informal. I just thought I'd write a few words. The formal version is I am writing to you to, in this case, to complain, but you can say to request information, to inform you, or something else. I am writing to you. Great for formal letters. In the next sentence we have as the owner of flat 24, and then we have the subject and verb of the sentence. So this phrase comes before the subject at the very beginning. So that's something that is common for the formal writing style. Young guy who moved in next door. The word guy is very informal. The formal alternative is the tenant of flat 25, my immediate next door neighbor. Notice how the formal vocabulary is more precise, so it helps you to push your vocabulary score up as well. Next, horrible rock music. Horrible is your personal emotional reaction, which is informal. Incessant loud music. Incessant means never stopping, so it's more factual, more formal. Next, I can't stand that. That's a personal, informal reaction. My nights have been disturbed. That's more formal. And here we had a chance to use a more complex grammatical structure, the present perfect passive. And generally, the passive voice is more formal than the active voice. Also, notice how version A includes several contractions, something characteristic of more informal writing styles. In a formal letter, you should not use contractions. And now on to the problems this has caused the writer. A. The noise has affected us all very badly, especially our two young school-age children, as it is almost impossible for any of us to sleep either sufficiently or peacefully. Or B. None of us can get to sleep, and that's really bad for our young kids who have school in the morning, and for us too, because we go to work. What do you think? Both versions cover this and shows, but of course it's A that reads more formally. Why? Well, compare these. Young school-age children versus young kids. The noun kids is informal, children is neutral. And again, in the formal version, we added some detail, school-age children. And in the next sentence of the formal version, we have the noise placed at the beginning as the subject. The noise has affected us all. It reads more formally than none of us can get to sleep. Next, sleep either sufficiently or peacefully versus kids who have school in the morning and for us too because we go to work. In the first version, the vocabulary is very precise and less common. Sleep sufficiently and peacefully. The second version is very simple and it sounds informal because it's so simple. Now, as for suggested solutions, which do you prefer? A. You must write a letter now telling this man to stop making this noise. And if he doesn't do anything, then you should really call the police. B. Might I suggest that a letter be sent to this tenant and to the owner of the flat, reminding them of the rules regarding noise as agreed at the general meeting of proprietors and tenants held last year? What do you think? Well, option A is far too direct. You must write. You should really call the police. These are very direct commands, which are quite rude. Compare them to the version B, which uses a very polite question. Might I suggest? And a letter be sent is the passive voice, a very formal construction. And now to sign off. Ending a letter well is important. Which version, A or B, uses a classic expression to end a formal letter? A. I look forward to your comments on this matter. Yours sincerely, Alex. B. Please do something about this. All the best, Alex. Which one is more formal? It's option A. Here we used a very common and formal structure. I look forward to please do something is informal. Then yours sincerely. Again, this is a very common way to finish a formal letter when you know the name of the person you're writing to. All the best is very friendly but quite informal. Actually, in English, when we write letters, we use a lot of typical phrases like I'm writing to or look forward to hearing back from you. And learning them can help you. Students who take my courses get a PDF list of formal and informal phrases for each situation, request, invitation, or advice, so they can compare which phrases are formal and which are informal. For free, you can download a PDF list with some formal phrases. I'll link both in the description. When you're writing a letter, read the task carefully. Decide if the letter is formal, semi-formal, or informal, and keep strictly to the bullet points. Check your opening and endings, making sure they match the tone. The abstracts you've seen so far were from a formal letter. Now let's have a look at a full informal letter and see how the tone changes. Here is the task. You have just won 2 tickets to a concert and want to invite your friend to go with you. Write a letter to your friend. In your letter, give details about the concert. Describe how you won the tickets. Explain why you've chosen your friend to go with you. Inviting or replying to an invitation is typical of the informal letter type. The structure is the same. From the greeting to the 3 bullet points to the signing off. But the informal tone of the letter will affect the words and expressions we use and the grammar too. Let's have a look. Dear Maria. We are writing to a friend, so we use the first name and don't forget to put a comma. Dear Maria, comma. Now the first bullet point. Give details about the concert. What are you doing Saturday next week? I'll tell you what you're doing. Notice the way the invitation is made. It's very direct. I'll tell you. This direct expression can either be quite friendly and playful in informal letters or quite rude if you use it in formal letters. You're coming with me to see Taylor Swift in London. You're coming. This is the present continuous tense to talk about the future. This means we're talking about a plan we've already made. So you've already made plans for your friend. You're coming with me. There is no would you like to come, which would be much more reserved. I know that we don't get to see each other as much as we'd like. What's not surprising with work and family, but wouldn't it be great to get away from all that for a day? So here we're using informal expressions and some phrasal verbs which are also quite informal. Get to see each other, get away from all that. The show starts at 8 p.m., but we can get there early, have lunch, and do some sightseeing. Now, the second bullet point. Describe how you won the tickets. And the second body paragraph of your letter. Now, believe it or not, I won the 2 tickets at work. In your letter, you should write several sentences about each bullet point. Even if you can answer it, cover the bullet point in just one sentence. Make your body paragraphs of about equal length. It was our company's 10th anniversary party, and we all took part in this raffle. So a raffle is the way to raise money for a project or a charity. All the people buy tickets, some win prizes, and the rest of the money goes to the cause. This is an example of less common vocabulary which you can use in your letter to push your vocabulary score up. You can imagine how I felt when the boss read out my name as the winner of the concert tickets. I think it's the first time in my life I've ever won anything. The present perfect tense, some variety. And now the third bullet point. Explain why you've chosen your friend to go with you. The moment I held the tickets in my hand, I thought of you. Remember when we were at school and we listened to her all the time? So this is a very informal sentence. Remember instead of do you remember? We knew the lyrics to all her songs. Again, some topic-specific vocabulary. It's gonna be so great to see her live. I can't wait. See you soon. An informal ending, Helen. The letter has a clear, coherent structure with each paragraph describing one bullet point. The vocabulary is appropriate with good use of collocations and expressions such as don't get to see each other as much as we'd like. Would be great to get away from all that for a day. Do some sightseeing. Took part in this raffle. The grammar is varied but also appropriate for the situation. We typically talk to our close friends quite simply. The letter is full of short forms. I've, wouldn't, it's all typical of informal letter writing. Remember that task 1 is only worth 1/3 or 33% of the total writing score. Task 2 weighs 2/3. That's why you should spend not more than 20 minutes on task 1 and say 40 minutes for task 2. By the way, if you prefer to start with task 2, you can totally do that. This letter is very different in tone to the formal letter we discussed before, right? Now, what about semi-formal letters? These are often letters you write to someone you've met or work with but who's not a friend. For example, you've just moved into a new home and are planning to hold a party. You're worried that the noise may disturb your neighbor. Write a letter to your neighbor. In your letter, introduce yourself, describe your plans for the party, Invite your neighbor to come. A little trickier? Finding the right tone between being very formal and informally friendly is not easy. Here, it's reasonable to assume that you've seen your neighbor but don't know him or her well. The tone will be semi-formal, not as formal as when you're writing to a business or a building manager, but not as informal as when you're writing to a friend. And don't forget that you're free to invent in these letters. Our examples so far are full of inventions, from school-age children to school days listening to Taylor Swift. So let's invent a little more here. Dear neighbor, my name is John Davis, and my family and I recently moved into the house next door to yours. We relocated from Geneva to London for my work. We're excited about joining the community, and our daughter is eagerly anticipating the upcoming school year. The tone is friendly but respectful. We wouldn't say, I know what you're doing next weekend, like we wrote to our friend before, or you must come to our party. Remember that the tone of the letter may also vary depending on the story you invent. Do you say that you're a student having a party and you're inviting another young person? Or do you invent a neighbor who's quite senior, maybe retired? This will affect the tone, right? Your personality also affects it, as some people prefer to be more formal than others. Make sure your tone is consistent throughout the letter, that you don't switch from quite formal to quite informal, because this will definitely be seen as a negative sign. The key to success in general training writing task 1 is first to clearly understand the importance of task achievement. It's a matter of getting our message across as clearly as possible. To do that, you need to follow the bullet points, make sure your ideas are relevant and your tone is right, and take care of how you open and close the letter. And if you'd like to learn how to answer each type of IELTS writing task 1 and 2, how to fulfill each requirement, and write more quickly to finish your answers in 60 minutes, check out my IELTS preparation courses. I'll link them in the description. They provide step-by-step preparation and can help you prepare in less time and achieve a higher score. The best next step on YouTube is to watch this video, which dives deeper into 12 things you must do in each letter. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!